Came back. We're now on to skill number 10, which is drawing basic graphics using shapes. I'm going to show you how you can create different graphics, essentially just using shapes, combining, but also built-in shapes that are in PowerPoint as well as Publisher. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to go to my slide I had made for my infographic a couple sessions back, and I have my Star of Life located in there, and that was one that we had drawn. You can refer back to that one. That was on the rotation one. But let's go ahead and look at other things that we can draw using basic shapes. So I have shapes in my quick access toolbar, but the other location you can find it is on the insert tab and under shapes. So under the shapes, as I go across here, I can see I have a whole bunch of built-in ones located. I have the basics, the square, the circle, the triangle, things like that, but I also have arrows, and mine up here will probably look different than yours because shapes that I've recently used. So I have subgroups underneath those, so I also have lines, rectangles, basic shapes, block arrows, equation shapes. So if you're talking about some data in your infographic and maybe you want to say it's 3 times, you could use the times symbol here, or something equals, or this plus this. Also have flowchart shapes, and they don't have to be used specifically for a flowchart. You can use them for your other drawings as well. I also have stars and banners. So I have these built-in banners you might not even have thought about, as well as callouts. Action buttons I have, but they're more so for having some type of action in a slideshow. So we're going to ignore action buttons for this tutorial. So let's go back to these basic shapes and things you might not be aware of that you have here. So you have a trapezoid, and as I scroll over each one, it tells me exactly what it is. I also have the diamond. And then I have one with 7 sides and 8 octagon, decagon, one with 12, and then what looks like a Pac-Man, as well as one that looks like a teardrop. And I had gone over the teardrop one, how to make it look more of a teardrop shape, in the second video. But then I also have some others. So I have one that's the cross. Oh, that one's great for EMS. And then a plaque, some cylinders, cubes. I also have the no symbol. So if I want to make something as no smoking or something along those lines, I have the no symbol. I also have a heart, a lightning bolt, a sun, a moon, clouds, as well as a smiley face. So let me choose smiley face. To do that, I simply click on the one I want to insert. Holding down that shift key on my keyboard, I draw it out, and using the shift key, remember, makes it just so that it is proportionate. And then I can make it a sad face, a happy face, just a regular face. Let's go with happy face. And then what I can do is I can recolor. So how I found recolors, when I was on the shapes, it automatically opened up the format tab, and then I went to different colors, but I could also go to the shape fill option, choose those. Also, if I had a picture I wanted to match, I could go to eyedropper and do that. And then also with the outlines, I can change that. So maybe I want more of a black outline. So those are some basic shapes. And let me go ahead and draw in that no one. If I click on that one and then holding down the shift key on my keyboard, I can draw that one out. So let me zoom into that one to show you some more. So that's kind of a fat no symbol. So I can actually adjust this as well. That's kind of skinny. And then I just adjust it till it works well with my image that I'm using. I don't want to put it over the smiley face, but if I had a sad face, then click back here on the smiley face, and remember to make a sad, I can change that one. And then I could make the no symbol. I can actually make the no symbol bigger. So this is how I'm building the scene using these shapes. Make that a little bit bigger so you can see it. I can click on the smiley, or I should say the frowny face. Let's make him a little bit smaller. Put him inside so you can see it. And then what I can do is I can recolor my no, and I have these theme fills, but none of those are red because red is the standard. I can click on red and do shape outline, and I can go with no outline. And there you go, I've built a little no sad face scene right there. So those are using some basic shapes to create some graphics. And these are called flat design, which we talked about at the infographics workshop. When you look or Google for infographics, you're going to find lots of different examples of infographics, but rarely are you going to find one that actually has photographs in it. And they're more simple designs, and that's part of the infographic process, and is the fact that they use flat images or graphics such as these. And part of that is because infographics are intended to be shared online, so therefore it's an image you're sharing online. You want to keep your file size smaller, but also it's about a simple message you want to get across. So just simple images to get that message across. So let's do some more drawing of shapes. So one of the things I do is I go to get ideas about things I want to insert. So let me scroll down a little bit. I'm going to grab the Star of Life and move it off the page. And let's say I know I want a picture, or I want something that has like a light bulb in it for an idea, and or I also want something that has like a badge. So what I could do is I could do a search, and I actually went to my Pinterest account, and I have one board that's all about infographics, and in that one I found one that I like because it has a light bulb as well as a little badge. So what I can do is I can either right click on here and do copy image, but let's try doing an insert. So I'm going to go to insert, and I'm going to go into screenshot, and I can choose it among that, or I can choose screen clipping, and then what I can do is just capture that specific area. Okay, so now I have that there, and let's go ahead and make it bigger. So I'm going to go to the corner and resize it. And I see right here first I'm going to work on the badge, so I can see some basic simple shapes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do something really cool. I'm going to show you how to draw around it. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I'm doing, and that way I can also see what I'm doing. And I'm going to draw around this shape. And remember, I want to start with the thing that's the furthest back for layering reasons. So I'm going to go to my shapes option, whether it's on my quick access toolbar or my insert, and I'm going to choose the Freeform. And the Freeform is really cool. I have it in my recently used shapes. If you don't have it there, it's in your lines, and it's the shape that some people describe it as a boot. I kind of think it looks like a little pond or lake, and then I click on that one. And then when I click there, I go to the area I want to draw around, and I want to draw around this shape. So I start at a point, and I click and release on my mouse, and then I draw it up to another point, and then I click and release, and I draw it to another point and click and release, and I keep doing that to each point that I want to anchor. The anchor points are click and release. And then as I get to matching up to the beginning point, as you see, it fills in, and then when I finish it, I click it and it fills in, and the default of my computer is to fill in with the blue, and I'll leave that for right now. But one of the cool things I'm going to show you is, so that I can continue drawing, is I'm going to recolor this a little bit so that I can see, because the entire badge is behind it. So I'm going to right click and do format shape. And when I do that, in 2013, I have options that come up on the side, and I'm going to work with the transparency. I'm going to increase that transparency, and now I can see the original badge underneath it. So what I could do is I could redraw around this one, but an easier way, shortcut way, is I select that part of the ribbon and then Control D, and what it does is it matches it. It duplicates it. So what I want to do is I'm going to go back to my Format tab. We're going to build on all these skills that we've learned so far, and I'm going to rotate. So then I think about how I want to flip it, and I want to flip it horizontal. And it doesn't have to match up completely with the picture underneath, but there you go. I have that together. And what's great is because I had duplicated it, it duplicated the size, the shape, as well as the color and the transparency. So let's go ahead now and draw this shape, this crenulated shape. And it doesn't have to be exactly, this is just for a basic idea that I want to have for this little badge I want to have. And so what I can do is I can go back to my shapes, and then in the stars area I have a bunch of different options. So I have a 32, 24, 16, 12, and so forth point star. So in this case, I'm just going to choose a 12, and then I'm going to move my cursor over there, and then holding down the shift key, I'm going to draw it out. And I'm going to have to keep drawing it out till I have it to the shape and size I like. You can see it's not exactly the same as the one below, and that's fine. I make it the way I want it, and then I also have my yellow diamond, which I showed in an earlier one, and what I can do is make it closer to that shape without it being so pointy. It's also a little big, so what I can do is I can click on this ribbon here, and I can format paint and then paste, or I should say paint over the top of my star, and then I can resize some more to get it closer to that shape. And remember, I want to use the shift key on my keyboard. Okay. And I kind of have it there, but it's not quite lined up. So if I just arrow over, it tends to move it a larger amount. But if I hold down the control key, I can move it even smaller increments. So this is in case I don't have anything I can line it up with. And then it's on top of these ribbons, which is perfect. And now I want to go ahead and insert a circle in the center. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my insert shapes, go to circle, and I had it in my recently used because I'd used it before, but the circle I'm also going to find in other locations throughout my shapes. So it's the circle, and now to draw it out, holding down that shift key, I can draw out my circle, and I can just keep drawing it out. Remember, I want to hold that shift key down because that will make it a nice uniform circle. And then if I want to make sure my circle is in the very center of my crenulated or star shape, what I can do is, remember, using the alignment, I have the circle already highlighted. Holding down the control key, I select that star or crenulated shape, and then I go to align center, align middle, and it's definitely in the middle. So then I have to think about what colors I want. I'm going to go ahead and select all four of these shapes. I'm going to move them off to the side. And then what I want to do is I want to go ahead and color match this. So remember how to do that. I click on the shape and I go to format. I go to shape fill, eyedropper, and then I can fill it in. And then I want it to have that same black outline. So I go to outline and I choose black. And as you can see, my outline is very thin, so I can actually change the shape and width of my outline. So when I go to shape outline, I have these options below. I can change it to more of a dash if I like that. Or in this case, I like it solid line, so I'm going to wait, and then I can make it thicker based on what I like. And what's great about that, and why I did that before I moved on to the next one, is now I have this formatted, meaning I want the fill to be this color, and I want the outline to be this black. And when I look over to the side, I can see the transparency is down to 0, which is perfect. And then I'm going to format paint, and there you go. I have those done. I still want to recolor my circle, so I can go to fill and go with the black, but it still has that blue outline, and I've said before I hate the outlines, so I'll get rid of the outline, and there we go. I have a badge, and I don't have to draw, like, I don't want a check mark in this one, so I'm not going to do that. So what I can do then, and since these are different colors, I don't want to combine them. I want to group them, so I'm going to click on each one. I could also select just that area, and then what I could do is I can go to group, which I have my quick access toolbar, or Control G. And then I have it grouped. So let me move this picture off to the side. And there you can see I have my little badge created. And now since I've grouped it, watch what happens when I resize it. I use the Shift key, it all resizes together. So let me undo to resize. Now watch what happens if I did not group it, because you may be wondering what's the big deal if I group it. So if I right click, I can also get the group option that way. I'm going to ungroup. So now I've ungrouped it. See, each piece is individual. And now I'm going to select all of them. Watch what happens though when I resize. I have them all selected, but I haven't grouped them. That's what happens if I don't group them. So that's why grouping is really important. So I'm going to undo, and then I'm going to, like I can right click and do group and group. And there we go. We have them all grouped. So that's how I can use shapes to create different things I want that maybe I don't already have. So they also have the light bulb in here, and I would challenge you to find your own picture of a light bulb you like and draw around it and create your own light bulb. Thank you for joining me today. But one final thing before I go, because I had talked about the transparency and I had removed the transparency from this one, but maybe you want your transparency to stay on. So let me show you something. And the Neat Art graphics, you think, well, when could that be useful? And let me trying to find my slide. We have one that has a helicopter in it. The purple helicopter is the one I'm looking for. And here we go. So I had colored this glass area of the helicopter, and then I did it with a gradient, meaning there's like 3 shades of blue in here, from darker to lighter, or if you move from left to right, it's lighter to darker. And then I put a transparency on the colors. So as I move this helicopter over this area, you can see how kind of cool that is because I can see stuff behind it, and it truly gives me that impression of glass. So that's a time where you might want to keep transparency on. And I can still edit that since this is not a combined object or a graphic, it's a grouped one. I can click on this glass area again, and I could right click and do format shape, and that's where I can see where my colors are with the color stops, which gradients, and I can look at the transparency. And in this case, I did a 68% transparency, but it's ultimately up to you and what do you need to make it. It depends on the colors to make it so that you can see through. So thank you for joining me today, and that ends this skill. Thank you.